How much of an impact did that 10 years have on you?
It made me.
Yeah.
All of it.
The two best things I ever did were to join the military and to leave.
Honestly, no one is joining those dots properly.
Is it because people are chasing their £5 pay rise?
The goal, the project goal.
That's the mission.
Mattered. That was the mission.
Yeah.
It really mattered.
So how do you guide strategy 2 years out when you actually don't know what's coming in 24 months?
Yeah, it's tough.
That kind of arena where you need to be really, really hyper switched on and organised and process driven.
It's a serious role in a serious global business. But COVID made us all think, right, where's my life going? What's career? What does it all mean?
It's the difficult conversations that people respect.
It means it dilutes and waters down that whole industry.
Did anyone go, Vince, are you sure, mate?
You've got the brass section, you've got the string section, you've got the percussion section, and you're supposed to be the conductor.
What are the big differences in that mentality, which we've come from, to a construction mentality?
But there's games that gets played at every single level. People say, well, that's far too early. Early for what? To plan a good project.
What's the number one piece of advice you'd give them?
Get somebody in the room 6 months earlier, you're now talking business strategy to shape a project.
Was that the itch?
No, and I always kind of had an itch to start my own business.
What are the big lessons you've learned? Welcome to the Future Workplace Podcast. Now, the idea behind the podcast is that we bring experts together to answer this underlying question. And the question is, if you have an office move over the next 12 to 18 months, what don't you know that you need to know? What decisions do you need to make now? And what conversations do you need to have now in order to let you build an office fit for purpose so that you are in the right place for the next 5 to 10 years? What are those questions? What we then do is we bring experts together to try to answer those questions. And experts can be anything from environmental to mental health to anything to do with what the future of workplace physically or emotionally or, any of that kind of stuff, human element, what it all looks like and what it needs to look like in the next 5 to 10 years. That's what we do. So we bring those experts on to answer those questions. All we ask for from you is that you like and you subscribe this podcast. That's it. That gives us bigger reach, gives us a bigger audience, gives us more access to experts to answer those questions that we need to answer. I like bringing experts on and I love bringing people on that I share a history with. And today I'm with somebody that I share a history with, Vince Simpson. Hello.
How are you doing? You all right?
How are you?
I'm pretty good.
We'll talk about our shared history in a minute, but it's great to
be here.
Great to have you.
You've got.
And there are a few things I want to talk to you about. A bunch of stuff, your comedy interests and all that kind of stuff.
I won't be telling any jokes.
To be honest, Spenno's the funny one, mate. Yeah. I'm absolutely awful. I'm far too logical to be funny. I try it all the time, and it just dies, and I just cannot. I don't have the funny gene in me.
Well, it depends if you're talking forces humour or.
Well, this is the problem. This is the problem. My forces humour hasn't left me, and that is the issue.
No, mine neither. Sometimes
I've got some funny stories about my first civilian job after I left the forces, but that's. I'm gonna have to leave those for another time. I just didn't read the room. Let's just put it that way. Look, we mentioned forces.
Yes.
Clearly, we've got a shared background in that. And one thing I like to try and do is kind of set the scene for when we have these conversations on the podcasts. So set that scene for me. Clearly, you have a northern-based accent.
Absolutely.
Give me the story.
Oh, the year was 1979. It all happened. So, very abridged kind of version, because I can talk all day about this. But from Dundee, wasn't academic in any way, shape or form. Wasn't really much happening in Scotland and Dundee kind of career-wise as I was kind of going through school and then left. Joined the cadets, Army cadets, absolutely loved it. First day I went there, I got handed a rifle, got told to march around, just thought this is all right,
Yeah.
Which was both great
and legal,
but not
in Scotland. Legal with a rifle in your hand.
Yeah, absolutely. As a 12-year-old boy, and it was good and bad because it made me care even less about school.
Yeah,
because I thought, right, I'm joining the army, job done. So that's what happened. I put all my energy and every spare minute I had into the cadets, and absolutely loved it. But I knew I was joining the army. Didn't do well at school. Well, I'd say didn't do well. Done average at school.
Yeah.
Without really trying, to be fair. Didn't realise I was or kind of mildly dyslexic at the time, which
Yeah.
now in retrospect answers a lot. But anyway, I tried to join the Black Watch and the Paras, as you do as a 16-year-old boy. And they said, no, believe it or not, you're far too clever for that.
Yeah.
I don't mean that as an insult to anyone else.
Yeah.
But I didn't expect that. So managed to get a placement as an apprentice, which was the old boy soldiers kind of thing.
Is that Harrogate?
No, it was the first or second intake at Gibraltar Barracks in Camberwell.
Gotcha.
It was, it used to be in Wales, Chepstow.
Okay, gotcha.
And then I went to Gib Barracks. I think it's still at
Yeah, Gib Barracks still there, yeah.
Still there, yeah. Anyway, I actually joined as an apprentice electrician. Got through basic, and as a boy soldier, basic is like a year long.
Yeah.
It's a long old time, and
Yeah.
you get a hard time.
Yeah.
It's not for the faint-hearted.
Yeah.
There's anyone that's been through that will contest. Or agree with, sorry. Got to my trade training, which was then in Gillingham in Chatham, which is a beautiful place. And then we started the trade training. So I've been in the army a year and a half at this point of doing soldiering and combat engineering.
Yeah.
So explosives and building bridges and all that kind of good stuff. Then got to trade, and I failed a load of maths exams. So they said, right, you can't be a Sparky anymore. And I went, oh, okay. Not that fussed. I was only interested in doing the fun, cool combat stuff.
Yeah.
So I got downgraded to a plant mechanic. So I'm a qualified plant mechanic.
Yeah.
Done my trade training, then went to my first unit. So you're now in the army kind of 2 years at this point, maybe even 2.5, before you get to your first unit. And then I focused on the combat side of things, explosives, mine warfare, bridging, infrastructure, construction, all that kind of good stuff.
Amazing.
Done loads of exercises, a few tours, Bosnia, Kosovo. Spent time in Sierra Leone, where I played quite an important and instrumental role in Sierra Leone, which I can't talk about, which was never on the news.
Yeah.
But played quite a significant role. And then got back to the UK. I went to training reg, so I was a training instructor at Gibraltar Barracks. So I went full circle.
Yeah. Is that doing the boy soldier stuff as well?
Soldier stuff,
oh, amazing.
Yeah. Didn't get into trouble, but there was, let's just say, a difference of opinion on some things, which changed my view of the army at that point. Now, bear in mind, you're in the army kind of almost 10 years at that point, seen lots of change. It went from an army, as I know it, and probably you would know it, to more of a business.
Yeah.
And didn't quite agree with some of that. So I decided, right, if I'm going to get out, I'll do so while I'm young enough to start again. And that's what I did. So
and that was 10 years in. Similar story. Yeah. You know, I was 13 years in, but had a similar epiphany where I was a bit like, got two options here. I either stay in and suck it up.
Yeah.
My option was probably commission.
Yes.
Or I get out. I had my MBA at the time, or I get out and I use my MBA to try and get myself a job in London. So it's a
choice to make at that time, because you're still young at that point. Right?
Well, I was 30. Joined at 16, so they're nearly 14 years. No, I was 29. Sorry, I was coming up to 30. But similar, you know. But look, I had no kids, I had no wife, I had no girlfriend at the time. So it was like, well, what's the worst that can happen? I'd leave and wing it and move to London and see what happens. I had a very similar decision that I made. Why didn't you go down like the commissioning route or what was the?
I was definitely a lifer.
Yeah.
When I handed my notice in, and for people that don't know, it's a year's notice. You know, when I was getting out, and probably similar for you. A year is a long time to give notice and sit there. But no one believed it. Then I said, no, you're green. As in you're army through and through. But there was just a niggle I had, and I said, I can see the way the army and the forces is going, and it's not in a good direction. And so I just made that call. Otherwise, I would have been.
You'd have been in.
Commissioned and all sorts.
Yeah.
Interestingly, two of the mates that I joined up with did get commissioned, or maybe even a couple more. And they only got out like a year, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, and I got out in 2004, 2005.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
So, you know, that could have been me. But I've not looked back from that.
What was the plan when you left? Was it wing it?
Didn't have one. I applied for train driver jobs because I heard they earn 45 grand a year.
More than that now. They strike all the time.
I was applying to the police.
Yeah.
I was applying for all sorts of things, and as you do, you kind of do the the health and safety courses.
Yeah.
And I'd done a project management course. In retrospect, there's guys getting out that were doing golf pro courses and wine tasting courses. I spent that money not very wisely, if I'm honest.
Yeah, but
But yeah, I didn't really have a plan.
right.
And thankfully I managed to kind of, I can say this in retrospect now, blag my first job
Yeah.
for a company called Asta, not Asda, the supermarket,
Yeah.
Asta. And they do the construction software, which you'll have seen. So contractors mainly use it, or we use it as Spark now, so it plans out construction projects and all that. So I managed to blag a little bit of training, being a training instructor at Gibraltar Barracks, construction, being a law engineer,
Yeah.
and I just managed to kind of get that role.
And that was your in.
And that was my into Civvy Street. And that's when I realised that I didn't have the right sense of humour for Civvy Street.
That's why you're probably good on a stage, actually.
You know what? It took a year to settle. It's the simple things. It's council tax, doctor's appointment.
Mate, I had this exact conversation last week where I was at a top table. I said to you before we started, I was at a top table last week and bumped into a bunch of my old civvy mates, my old military mates, and I've been out for 10 years now, and they're all coming up towards the end of their time. I was at a top table last week, and one of the guys was saying to me, "What's the biggest piece of advice you'd give somebody leaving?" And I said, "Give it 18 months.
Yeah,
just don't kill yourself over it. Just settle down."
Yeah.
It took me 18 months. Council tax, stuff, food.
Yeah.
I didn't even know we don't pay for food. It's like, food, council tax, clothing, proper clothing, because you're wearing uniforms all the time.
Absolutely.
It took me 18 months.
Yeah.
Couldn't get my head around it. And then eventually I was like, oh, okay, I get it. I think it's starting to come together now.
Everyone, is it? Yeah.
Yeah, and people do struggle.
Some people do. It's really tragic. And I think the military's got a lot to answer for there.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's getting any better. I know we're going off on a tangent a little bit here, but I don't know. I'm not sure if it's getting any better. One of my friends commissioned, good lad, I'm not going to say his name because he's a colonel now, but he commissioned and he's now a colonel. And he's coming up towards the end of his time. And even now he's a bit like, I'm a colonel, but I'm only a colonel inside of this fence, so...
I mean, the good old transferable skills that they drum into you when you're getting out. You'll be fine in that half an hour bloody CV workshop that they give you. It's just like, come on, you can do so much more than that.
But the transferable skills are massively present.
Absolutely.
Especially, and we're going to get into this in a few minutes, especially when it comes to things like project management, construction, that kind of arena where you need to be really, really hyper switched on and organized and process driven and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, 100% agree,
I know we're going to get into that.
Yes.
So you're at the software company, first left, blagged it, software company.
Software company.
Talk to me about the journey from that kind of construction civvy journey then.
Yeah. So when I was getting out and looking at train driver and all this kind of stuff, I was also looking at project management. But in hindsight, I didn't know what it was at the time.
Yeah.
It sounded good.
Yeah.
So I was applying for the odd project management role, but didn't really get contracting and consultancy. And, let's be honest, anyone and everyone can be a project manager, depending on how you spin it. So wasn't getting very far with that. But when I was at Asta doing the software training, and I was going around the country training main contractors how to use our software and doing a bit of consultancy for them, I was meeting and getting closer to the construction industry and what it all meant and worked and how it worked. So that was kind of my in, and I wasn't subtle. Again, I was still learning Civvy Street. I didn't know that you don't go tapping up your clients for work. I didn't know that you don't talk about salaries and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Didn't know. I was young. But sure enough, I was not subtle, and I kind of would have it in a coffee break, a little chat with the construction directors of all these firms. Well, how do I get into what you're doing then? And blah, blah, blah. This is a stepping stone for me. It's not what you should say.
You don't say that.
You don't. But long story short, there was two companies that kind of took the bait. There was a company called HBG, which then went to BAM Nuttall, I think, years later. But HBG was a main contractor, and I think they'd done supermarkets, prisons, schools, that kind of thing. And then what was at the time Como Interiors, which is now Mace Interiors, part of the Mace Group, obviously. I think they've recently done away with the interiors as well. I think it's now just Mace.
I don't know.
But anyway, that's by the by. So long story short, they said, right, we'll give you a go. You'll be doing internal ASTA training, obviously. Yes. But actually you're going to be an assistant construction manager as well.
Yeah.
So that brought me into fit out. And I am so glad that I got into fit out and not building in a supermarket or a school for 3 years or whatever it bloody takes.
Yeah.
It's not for me. Concrete and steel, nah.
Yeah.
That was me into fit out. So then, absolutely brilliant time at Mace. I've got always fond memories of that. It's where I was, starting my career. They sent me to college and uni, backed me all the way.
Really?
Absolutely loved it. Got some great experience. That's where I learnt fit out, really.
Yeah.
Accelerated pretty quickly to running my own projects, and then running multiple projects as a roving project manager.
Yeah.
Small projects, admittedly. Just absolutely loved my time there. Worked with some real legends.
Yeah.
As I call them, legends in this industry, which there's not enough of these days. Fast forward, kind of done 5 years there, kind of understood how life works far better than I did when I got out.
Yeah.
Come to buy my first house time, all that kind of stuff. Money was important. And sadly, I was that guy that chased the extra kind of $5,000.
Right.
And that took me to BW.
Right.
BW Interiors. The old BW, not the new BW.
Yeah.
And people that are listening will know what I mean by that. Done time there. It was a different kind of learning.
Chased you $5,000.
It wasn't worth the $5,000 for that. It was not. That was a tough 18 months.
Right.
The business was not quite as structured as it is now. So I moved on from there to Structure Tone.
Yeah.
Had a great time at Structure Tone. Again, seen as a bit of a firefighter in some respects.
Yeah.
Right, that project's in trouble. Can you get in there and sort it out? Yes. Which I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed doing that. Done my time at BW, Structure Tone, but concurrently with that, I was doing my Masters in project management. And I bounced pretty much straight from my degree into my Masters because I thought, right, if I'm going to just in this learning mode, I'm going to keep going because you can't keep that pace of kind of learning up forever. So done that and thought, right, I want to do some of this, similar to what you've done with your MBA. You kind of go, I want to actually use it.
Yeah.
So I kind of thought, right, how do I get into consultancy? And I was actually working for a client up in Ipswich. I probably won't name them. But the client's project manager kind of went, well, come in for a chat.
Yeah.
And that was my jump into Cushman's in my first consultancy role.
Yeah.
Which, again, was another learning curve, but a very good learning curve. Done my time at Cushman's, again, great place, great people, great project, cut my teeth.
Yeah.
But then went to CBRE and headed up a specific team. I would love to say I was headhunted, but that would be a bit strong.
Right.
But they were certainly looking for a certain type of character.
You were being a bit more subtle at this point, though, right? Because you'd learned
you'd
learned the ropes a bit.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, absolutely. So went to CBRE, took over a team that had kind of plateaued out because my predecessors left and they set up their own consultancy firms. So I took over a team, and it's a serious role in a serious global business.
Yeah.
You know, it's a head of director kind of role. So that was a different set of challenges, but again, all absolutely fantastic, and I loved my time at CBR.
Yeah.
I really did.
Yeah.
Great business, and there's still friends and fond memories there.
Yeah.
But they're a monster.
They're big.
Absolute monster. Yeah. So fast forward a little bit, COVID happened just about the time it went public that they were acquiring / merging with TNT.
Yeah.
Which didn't change anything, you know, in the immediate term. But COVID made us all think, right, where's my life going? What's career? What does it all mean? And I always kind of had an itch to start my own business. And I remember one of my old mentors saying, never start a business when the market is brilliant.
Yeah.
You start in a dip and you grow back.
Yeah.
Right? And it's always stuck with me. So when COVID happened, and the wiser, more mature people in life will go, right, the world is never going to be the same again.
Yeah.
The younger guys were like, oh, what, we're at home. Brilliant.
Yeah.
And I thought, right, no, there's something here.
This is the dip.
I need to take action here. So thought about it, and handed my notice in over a Teams call because we weren't allowed in the office. And 6 months notice period. Went for it.
Good for you. And we started, we didn't quite have the planning that you had there, and that you recognised the dip. We started 6 months before COVID. Yeah. It actually transpires, you look back on that now and you go, okay, that actually was a good thing. But I mean, there There was no clever.
But
There was no,
hindsight's-
yeah, there's no clever planning in that.
No.
It was we just got a little bit lucky. Can you tell me about it's a great story from your military leaving and kind of the skill set that you have in the military into what you do now. How much of an impact did that 10 years have on you wearing green? And in terms of how much of an influence did it have on your role as a civvy? Forget Spark at the moment.
Yeah.
But in your role as a civvy, how much of an impact did your 10 years preceding that have?
It made me.
Yeah.
All of it. All of it. Because and I think it was cadets as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I was getting into a little bit of trouble when I was younger. Nothing too serious.
You and me both. Yeah.
But man, it could have been it's easy to take the wrong path. And in hindsight, if I hadn't joined the cadets, I could have been in a lot of trouble.
Gone the wrong way.
If even here right now,
Yeah.
if I'm honest.
Yeah.
You know. So it started at cadets. That grounding of structure, discipline, tests, you know,
Yeah.
and in cadets you get your badges, right?
Yeah.
But man, we took them seriously. They really
Yeah.
were.
Yeah.
You know, they were important. But then military-wise, yeah, absolutely. It made me who I was. Leadership, courage, rational thought,
Yeah.
logic,
Yeah.
risk awareness, forward-thinking, planning, you name it.
So it's, I always say a little saying that I've got. My wife probably gets sick of me saying it, but but I genuinely mean it. The two best things I ever did were to join the military and to leave, in that order.
I like that.
And because I'm like, similar to you, I look back and I think to myself, I could have easily ended up in a really tricky situation, easily. I binned off uni, played football as a kid, thought I was going to make the usual story. Going to make it. Binned off, let's say uni, binned off GCSEs.
Yeah.
Going to make it. Didn't make it.
Yeah.
For looking back, was never really good enough. Don't know why. Didn't make it. Joined the army, sorted me out.
Oh, yeah.
13 years left. I probably spent a bit too long in because I left a little bit bitter.
Yeah.
13 years in, second best thing I ever did, leave.
Yeah.
Two best things I ever did.
Absolutely.
And then obviously I'm in a very similar kind of area to what you
But
are
it's
now.
horses for courses. The guys that done their full 22 years, or whatever the engagement terms are these days, I don't know, you know, they'll leave and they'll have done well, and that's their right time. Everyone finds their right time. So, you know, kudos to anyone that goes the distance, or even does 3 years, whatever it is. When you find the time for you, it's right.
Yeah.
So kind of totally respect that. But it's a life experience. Then.
Yeah.
And unless you've done it, it's a very different kind of life experience. Especially in our industry.
Yeah.
There's a few routes, but the real routes are probably from an academic. Somebody will go to uni, do building surveying, get into consultancy, right? Or you would be a good example, or one of your co-director. You're on the trades, and you're on the tools, and then you kind of grow into management and then start a business, whatever it is, right? And you get your own life experience by doing that. But military life experience, especially when you join the army at 15 3/4, you know, that's when I signed on the dotted line to doing that. That's a different kind of life experience.
Yeah.
It's accelerated.
Yeah.
And people that have not done it will hear that and go, well, yeah, it's only one kind of life experience. And yeah, they'd be correct. But you learn so much real stuff that other people won't learn.
Yeah.
You're not going to get that at uni.
Yeah. People aren't going to Sierra Leone and doing shit that you just mentioned that you can't talk about, right?
No, yeah, exactly.
They're not doing that stuff at 19. Do you know, or whatever the age. Do you know what I mean?
I would have been, 19.
Yeah.
19.
So when you're 19 years old, doing some pretty...
Me and one other white British soldier leading a Sierra Leone army battalion.
Yeah.
We were the only two British white leading that.
Yeah.
And that's all I can say.
Yeah, well, I'm not gonna push.
Yeah.
Look, I've obviously trodden a very similar route, which is why I can relate to it quite well. What are the big differences? And two questions. What are the big differences between working in the military environment, work where it's very clear everyone's got each other's back, everyone knows the mission, and you do whatever the fuck it takes to get that mission done. Sometimes, you know, best laid plans are all made and then, you know, get punched in the face, and then you have to change the plans for the purpose of the mission. What are the big differences in that mentality, which we've come from, to a construction mentality, if there are any?
Yeah. It
You
doesn't
don't have to
happen.
throw anyone under the bus.
No, and I'm known for kind of being a bit contrarian and controversial, but that doesn't exist. I'm going to call it out. It does not exist.
Yeah.
And I've
Is
seen,
it because, going back to your thing,
Yeah,
is it because people are chasing their $5,000 pay rise?
definitely, it's one of them.
Yeah.
So the industry's changed so much. I've been in fit out 20 years, give or take, and it has changed so much. I was took on because people liked my background and my what I now call DME, direction, momentum, and energy. Right, that's part of Spark's story as well. People liked it, and I was young enough to mould in the right way, and the right people did mould me. Like I say, I mean, what I call legends of our industry from when I was at Como. But the industry's changed so much. Every industry has. But we see it where, let's call it, what I'm going to call it old school, 20 years ago fit out, where the client's wishes, desires, the goal, the project goal
That's the mission.
mattered. That was the mission.
Yeah.
It really mattered. Yeah, everyone had to make margin and, keep all that kind of normal stuff. But it was drummed into me as a young construction or assistant construction manager, what the client says goes.
Yeah.
What the client's project manager says goes. Keep them all happy and get that goal done. And you were empowered to do that.
Yeah.
Various kind of dilution of that I've witnessed over 20 years. And now we're in this industry where, and I've got to be careful what I say because there's a lot of fantastic organisations and fantastic people out there, but they're of a different ethic. They are, work ethic and experience level. And life is tough out there. Inflation. So that extra $5,000 means much more now than it did 20 years ago.
Well,
when it comes to buying.
Then if you go over the tax threshold, you then pay more money on the tax anyway.
I mean, let's not even go down that road, right? But yeah, so the ethic has changed. It's not always their fault, as in the individual's fault. Society has driven a little bit of that. Competition in London has driven, and I'm talking London centric, has driven that. There's more firms. So everyone can move for an extra 5, 10 grand, 15 grand pay rise these days, right? That's what happens. And if you're going to do that, what does that actually mean by default? It means you're putting yourself before your company. If there's company values, some of them don't have company values. It means you're doing that by default. So what does that actually mean? It means it dilutes and waters down that whole industry where the goal actually mattered. And now the goal doesn't matter as much. What matters as much is people's work-life balance, paying their bills, paying their mortgage, going on holiday twice a year, whatever it is they do.
Yeah.
And then chase the next one.
And is that the underlying thing that started Spark? You mentioned a dip in the economy and COVID, and you had an itch that you needed to scratch.
Yeah.
Was that the itch?
No.
Right.
No, well, maybe subconsciously, maybe a little bit of it, but not so much. CBRE was great, and I can honestly say the core team that I was surrounded by at CBRE, and Cushman's in fact, did matter. Their ethic was unbelievable. But that's because they've got a robust recruitment process. They know who they're taking on, and they know who not to take on. So you're always going to get really good guys in a company like that. What actually started with Spark was, it was a wider challenge than that. It wasn't about the individuals necessarily. It was about the industry again. Consultancy model, you're spread thin. You are spread thin, and it just gets thinner and thinner. No one ever goes, oh, you've got too many projects, let me take one off you and you could spend more time with that client. It doesn't happen, right? You only get thinner and thinner. So I was kind of looking in the mirror. A lot of my job was pitching. And honestly, and I don't think this is a CBRE issue per se, but we all had targets to meet. And I had a target for my team. I started to believe my own bullshit.
Yeah.
I would go out pitching and I basically had the same script. And I've got to say it was quite easy being my role and being CBRE, I've got to say. So I had a realisation that, right, what am I as a consultant? Where's my values? And I looked at not just CBRE, I looked at Cushman's, I meet other PMs in the industry and I talked to many people. And long story short, I thought, right, if I'm going to do this, why am I doing it? And like many people will have done when they're business planning, I don't have a formal business plan. I had a flip chart and a load of highlighters. And there's loads of words, what matters and what lacks. And 3 words stood out to me. There's a lack of direction from consultants and project managers specifically. They're all scared to give advice, even though that's what you're paid to do. So there was a lack of direction. There was a lack of momentum. Postbox this, postbox that. Oh no, it's in your did you not get that email? Which ball's back in your court.
Taking ownership.
There's not driving things forward, no ownership. And a lack of energy. Sometimes, again, I've got to always caveat, not every firm, not every person, but too many people out there have just got a lack of energy about a project. And when you're in a big corporate, the corporate facade almost overtakes your personal brand. And I've got a character, a pretty strong character, in fact, sometimes, right? And I think you're the same. You shouldn't be shy. You shouldn't shy away from that.
No.
That should be out there in the right ways. So, lack of direction, lack of momentum, lack of energy, and I really liked those. And those are still Spark's guiding principles to this day, and will always be my personal guiding principles in Sparks. Hashtag DME, as we put on LinkedIn. So that was the story. And that's actually what drove the name Spark.
Right.
I was like, well, what has direction, momentum, and energy? And I kind of had an epiphany, and I thought, right, that can't be real. Why is there not a company called Spark already? There must be. So I was straight on a company's house and buying domains. But in our industry, there's a Spark interiors designer, I think. I never spoke to. Maybe I should.
Yeah. Get in touch.
Yeah, get in touch. Yeah, let's collaborate.
Let's collaborate.
But shockingly enough, there was no Spark kind of PM or consultancy or anything like that. So I bought every single domain I could. I still own about 50 domains that just, I was like, I've got to snap these up. And look, that's what started the Spark.
Do you know what I love about this, right? Is you failed your electrician stuff and you've gone on and started a company called Spark. It's like, screw you, teacher who told me I'd never make it.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed the podcast so far. I'm just going to take a quick 30 seconds of your time to explain to you one of the biggest problems that people have when it comes to fitting out their new office space. And that problem is they get AV in too late. When you get AV in too late, what happens is they treat it as an afterthought. They treat it as a bolt-on. It's a few screens on a wall. Let's just put some screens on and make it work. Massive, massive, massive mistake. And we see it day in, day out, where people treat AV as an afterthought. To try and avoid that mistake, you need to bring AV in, the design of AV in really early as you possibly can. Now, to try and help you with that, we've put together what we call an AV bundle. It's a bundle. The link is in the description below, and it gives you the ability to configure your own AV meeting rooms so you know what solution you're putting in the rooms. It gives you a risk map for the project so you know when to bring AV in, and it gives you a budget calculator so that you can budget AV in early as opposed to later when you realize that AV, frankly, isn't as cheap as what everybody thinks. So grab the bundle below, get AV in as early as you possibly can, and avoid the mistakes that lots of our clients actually do when it comes to refitting their offices. So
that's Spark.
Brilliant, mate. Yeah. Brilliant. Great. Love the story as well.
Just to kind of put a full stop there, like I said, there's great people out there, but even as recent as this week, I'm seeing a lack of care, diligence, and ownership and responsibility out there right now in this industry.
You just answered my next question. I haven't even asked it yet. You're just taking the line.
We lost our way. Chris,
we knew this was going to happen.
Chris, we have lost our way.
Well,
and I'm on a mission to change.
I was going to say, what is the bit? In fact, let me start this again, right? So, we're obviously the point of the podcast is to try and answer the question of what don't people know that they should know.
So it's not the point for me to whinge here for.
Well, no, that is the point. But I want to build the story up to a point where there's whinging, where there's a narrative to the whinge.
Yeah,
so the narrative is, what don't people know that they should know? So let's take it back to a naive listener. Naive is probably the wrong word. What is a PM? And why is it important in the construction phase? What is it?
As a consultant. Yeah. So what most will say is, think of the PM, the project manager, as the hub of the team for that project. And I think that's a true statement. You're the hub. You're not another way to think about it is the conductor, and everyone loves an analogy, right? You've got the brass section, you've got the string section, you've got the percussion section. I don't know much about bands, but people get the idea. and you're supposed to be the conductor. You're not supposed to be playing the drums or the flute or anything like that. Experts and specialists are supposed to, and you're supposed to conduct the band. That's kind of what being the project manager should be.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that anymore.
Right.
I really don't. I think it's morphed into something that no one can really put their finger on. Because of time and budget issues, and we will come back to that because this will answer the bigger podcast question. But it comes back into, again, what we just said there, not to kind of go over old ground, but it's the care, it's the diligence, it's consultants being spread very thin, fee-wise, so they can't get into the depth that they ideally should, and probably what the client thinks they've bought as well. That's a big challenge. There's always a disconnect there. And if I'm honest, I'm not so sure the project management role is respected as much as it once was. Talking from experience, and maybe it's my background, maybe it's a bit of military, roll your sleeves up, get stuck in. Maybe it's my contracting experience. But I and Spark and my current project manager, Sean, we get too involved because there's gaps that people are leaving wide open. People are not doing their own job, or they're not caring as much as they should. And I don't mean to generalise, it's not everyone.
Yeah, of course.
But
Spark wouldn't exist if the issue wasn't there in the first place, right?
Correct.
It doesn't mean everyone's like this, but
no, exactly.
there's clearly
So we find ourselves morphing into that and being kind of quasi-project managers, quasi-construction manager, quasi-design manager, secretary, mentor, give people a cuddle when they need it, give people a kick up the backside when we need it.
Yeah.
Okay, some will say, well, that's a PM role. It's not actually.
Yeah.
It's really not. So yeah, but key point, I have differentiated over the last few months, purposely not even calling myself a project manager anymore. Truth be told, I fell out of love with being a true project manager in our industry for the reasons I've just said. So I have pivoted me and Spark and our expertise towards project strategy.
Right.
To be clear, we will do project management work, but on a pretty selective basis for the right clients, probably repeat clients, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
Or some client that knocks on the door and gets what project management is and how to use us.
Yeah.
And does it at the right time. Not 6 months too late with half the budget they need.
What is that right
That's
time?
just...
Because again, just to kind of labour the point a little bit, the idea behind this is to provide the expertise and bring the people together to have this conversation.
Yeah.
People watching this and listening to this, they've got a move coming up, they've got a lease event coming up, something along those sorts of lines.
Yeah.
At what point, two-part question, at what point would they get in touch with you and why?
So it depends on the type of move, right? But let's be really general here. If it's a lease event and they're moving, even a 5,000 square feet white box, they leave it too late.
Yeah.
And I could answer the whole question of your podcast in one simple answer.
Don't do that, because that means there'll be no more guests.
Okay.
No, I'm joking. Go ahead.
No, it's a fair point. But earlier than you think. So if you're saying 12 to 18 months, if you've got a lease of, you need to be out and moved and operational in a new space in 12 to 18 months, you need to think earlier than your clients, our clients, think. It takes longer.
Yeah.
Even for a 5,000 square feet box, 2 years, you need to start the process. Now, okay, people say, well, that's far too early. Early for what? To plan a good project. To get some good, really, some sound advice that will make that project go smoothly. Yeah, okay, you could say, well, it's just moving a load of desks. But and I know, and clients know, everyone knows, in fact, there's far more to it than that. And the industry's got nuance, far more nuance these days. And things take longer. Even appointing an agent will take longer. Going out and looking at spaces will take longer. Negotiating with landlords will take longer. Legals take far longer than anyone thinks. So on and so forth. And
you guide all of this?
It depends when I'm brought in. So to answer your question, when am I usually brought in?
On
average, 6 months too late.
Mental. Yeah.
Not even joking. And I'm answering a few questions here. So what does that mean for a project manager? It usually means we are chasing our tail and firefighting and panic management from day one, the minute we get appointed. Because there's a ton of stuff that hasn't been done. Loads of due diligence is missed on projects. The budget has not been well considered. It's usually a finger in the air. Often, it's a range from an agent who, with respect to agents, they're not QSs and they're not project managers, or D&B firms. And with respect to D&B firms, they're not PMs, they're not QSs, they're not thinking wider beyond the build, and they're margin driven. Their model is margin driven. And if you kind of explain that to a client, the two bits of advice that you often get, if you're going to get any, is from an agent who's, with respect, not qualified and never run a project in their life, and a D&B firm who's margin driven.
Margin driven, yeah.
If you were to walk into a CFO or Dragon's Den, they would laugh at you and go, well, why would you listen to those two?
Yeah, you need somebody who's impartial to drive this thing.
And actually has done projects. So there you go. I've slagged off D&B contractors.
Yeah, and
I do it on my own podcast weekly, to be fair. But I don't mean it in a really bad way. There's good and bad out there.
Well, the point of this is an education piece, right? That is the point.
And so, where am I going with that to help your viewers? Start sooner than you think.
Yeah.
All right. And that's where you get, and this is where I kind of join the dots, what I'm going to call now a project strategist. I want to position myself earlier in the process and at a more senior level. The way I'm describing it now to potential clients is think of me like a project non-exec. Because there'll probably be some kind of steering committee. If it's an established client, they will probably have an internal steering committee. If it's a small client, they'll probably have the secretary and the MD.
Yeah.
That's the steering committee. But whatever it is, they're sometimes taking the wrong advice. So why not get an expert in the room and think of me as a project non-exec?
Yeah.
And I'll steer you through that whole process. And it's not just project stuff. It's, okay, well, why that agent and why not that one? And I've got to be really careful what I say here.
Yeah.
But there's games that gets played at every single level. Every level. And there's only really two people that will, if we're involved at the right time, can help steer a client away from the games. That's a project manager, if they're doing the right job, and a QS. They're the only two people that can navigate games that get played. And I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole.
Don't go down that rabbit hole there.
Right? So there's what I think.
Yeah.
Earlier engagement, more senior engagement, project strategist, and client rep.
So early engagement, 2 years out, project strategist. I'm going to use that. I'm going to use that to kind of frame my next bit. How do you guide a company 2 years out when in 2 years' time, you don't know what their headcount is. You don't know whether they have a solid hybrid working framework. You don't know the unknowns.
Yeah.
2 years out. Yeah. The big thing I'm thinking on the top of my head is you don't know headcount.
Yeah.
So how do you guys strategy 2 years out when you actually don't know what's coming in 24 months?
Yeah. It's tough.
Yeah.
It's hard. But the one thing that you've got to do is understand the business. So in many respects, if I'm going to be coming in as a client's project strategist now, yes, I've got a project kind of outlook, but I need to understand your business. There's a little bit of business consultancy in there as well. So that it's my job to help join the dots. Because they're going to be great at what they do. If they're a pharma company, if they're a startup or whatever it is, that's their expertise. They've probably not translated that many times or often or ever to a project. So that, to answer that, that's part of my role. I will help identify, right, what's the business goal? So I'm going to start with, well, what's your 5-year business plan, 10-year business plan? They may not know, right? But we start with the business, explore that and options. That will help me identify what experts we need. Do we need a workplace consultant involved? Do we need some tech? Do we need to do some utilization studies, whatever it is? But you'll never get perfect because many businesses don't know where they're going to be in 2 years, right? Not fully. But again, that's a strategist's role. It's not really a project manager's role.
Yeah.
Project managers, when they get brought in 6 months.
Hence the pivot that you were talking about.
Hence the pivot. A project manager will be brought in too late, right? Go and tender that and babysit the construction and then let me cut a ribbon at the end, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of the brief in really simplistic terms. Get somebody in the room 6 months earlier, you're now talking business strategy to shape a project. And And that will involve, and under our strategy service line, bringing in workplace consultants, technology consultants, and we'll need to talk about technology at some point. ESG, trying to join all those dots in line with their business plan to then shape an amazing project. But that will involve some hard truths, some real advice, which will be probably contrary to anyone else that they would talk to, because a lot of people want an easy ride. Yeah, I'm going to give them the truth, and I'm going to stop. I'm changing the world here, Chris.
I'm loving it.
Stop project overruns. I'm going to stop projects over budget, by just giving the right outlook at the start. Now, people say, well, that was going to cost loads of time and fee. No, actually, my strategy fees will be quite cost effective, because I'm basically acting like a non-exec. I'm steering a ship. I'm not playing the drums or the flute. You know. And if it gets to the point where, right, we've done all that great work and we now go into project mode, client could say, right, Vince, Spark, please project manage.
Please manage it. Yeah.
Or what I'd actually rather do,
tender it to a project manager, please.
Tend it to a project manager, and I'll either keep a role as the client's rep or strategist, or they'll say, brilliant, you've done a great work there. But what does that do for the PMs that I tender to? They'll get a robust RFP.
The brief is compelling.
And there's actually been some due diligence. There's actually a sensible budget, not a wrong budget. There's actually a sensible strategy for them to go and pick up, tweak, because they're going to be the project manager, tweak it, and then deliver it. And then if the client keeps me on, I then keep the whole ship in the right heading.
Yeah, yeah. You've spoken a lot about, use the term USP for Spark, right? And I hate these kind of like corporate, pivot, and we've used both of them. You've used pivot and USP.
I hate myself every time I say it.
But you've spoke about what good looks like. What was bad? Spark exists for a reason, right? Outside of the fact that you had an itch that you needed to scratch.
Yeah.
What did poor look like? What are the big mistakes people make? And why? And that's, you've spoke about what good is.
Yeah.
What are the big mistakes that people make?
Well, I guess it's
apart from being late. We've done that one, right?
No, okay. Well, it's kind of connected. It's from a client perspective. I mean, yeah, it's so easy. It's underestimating the time and the money again.
Yeah,
and taking the wrong advice.
Yeah,
it really is. I wish I had a deeper answer for you there, but it's actually that simple.
You need to bring them in early. We say the same. From the AV side of things, we sit there, bang my head against the wall half the time, because sometimes we're at the back of the chain, right? When we're a D&B firm comes to us and they go, well, what does the bottom number look like? And we're going, well, is there a decent brief? Is there a design guide? Is there what's the functionality requirements that the client's asking for? It's not just a case of sticking a screen on a wall.
So let me answer that. What's bad? Very few people think about the end result. They think they're thinking about it, but they're not actually thinking about it. What they're thinking about is carpets, curtains, and how many desks, and I think I need 2 meeting rooms, blah, blah, and we'll put some AV in there, blah, blah, blah. I'm simplifying it. But actually, are they really thinking about, again, like I'm really trying to emphasise here, what's their business plan will drive what that end product actually should be. And that could be 5-year difference, right? If you've got a 5-year plan and moving in 2 years, well, are you actually ticking the boxes on your own business plan? Yeah. And where's your industry? Where's your sector? What's the risks? And that's where my business strategy head kind of comes on. And if that means I, as a strategist, build option A, B, C, or a little bit of wriggle room into that strategy, all the best. But I'm digressing, so I'm going to come back to the question. You're right. AV is always an afterthought, unless you're in a 100,000 square feet multi-global location business, right? They do take it more seriously. But your average kind of occupier, not so much. It's still kind of a bolt-on to IT. It's becoming more IT integrated because pretty much every single AV device is now networked. That's a huge change over the last few years. That changes so much in terms of design, integration, coordination, procurement. Future-proofing, so much, right? So it's still a bolt-on. Furniture is still a bolt-on in my view as well. Those two go hand in hand. So important. Technology, AV technology and furniture. And then the journey to that, and if you are going to put an ESG layer over the top of that, and some smart buildings or intelligent buildings and IoT and all that kind of stuff, and ESG accreditation. Honestly, Chris, no one is joining those dots properly.
Yeah.
They think they're having a go and they are, but they're really not. And I see it as the triangle. You've got strategy, technology, ESG. That's the Spark project strategist piece.
Yeah.
And then a big fat arrow that goes to project delivery, project management. It's not, everyone's eyes goes to project management. What about these?
What's the foundation?
It's not happening right.
Yeah, that makes sense. Spark, hence Spark started.
Indeed.
Let's talk about the business of Spark and you as an entrepreneur or founder, business owner. You mentors? Any mentors? Did anyone guide you? And did anyone go, Vince, are you sure, mate? You're doing all right. You know, you're pitching, you know, you're at CBRE, it's a nice cushy job, you've got a pension, you've got, you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Are you sure, mate?
So mentee-wise, over my career, I've had some really good people that have added to my military values and ethos, work ethos. They added to that with expertise. So I would call out James Gall, who was my project manager when I was a construction manager at Mace. Absolutely fantastic guy. He taught me what good is when it comes to fit out. And all my technical expertise. Who runs his own fit out firm now, actually, Synergia Projects. Dave Howell, who's a big hitter at Overbury. Man, that guy is a project director and a half.
Really?
Everyone learns from that guy, and he's such.
He's going to watch this and go back to Overbury for a pay rise now.
I think he's senior enough. I think
he's all right.
But yeah, so mentors, and then of course my team at Cushman's and CBRE. You know, that's a different kind of mentorship.
Yeah.
When I was making the switch to Spark, it wasn't so much mentorship. It was what my mates would call, or one of my mates would call, a brains trust. It's your kind of friends, family, kind of, what do you think here? And they all basically went, yeah, go for it.
Good.
Well, I've kind of been, I'm not necessarily religious, but I do believe in something. What that is, not sure. But somebody...
Fate,
the universe, don't know. Everyone's just switched off and everything.
Yeah, well.
But where I'm going with that is someone has always been looking at, something has always kept an eye out for me.
Yeah.
Something has.
I think everything happens for a reason, right? You know, when you have those crossroads where we spoke about earlier, where you're like, growing up in Scotland, didn't do very well, could have gone left, turn right instead. Now you're sat in a studio with me talking about, so this is your life, here's your book.
It's bizarre, right?
You know, you do look back at those like really defining moments where you're like, holy shit. Like if that thing didn't happen, here's a defining moment, right? I was in the military with a girl at the time who you know, I was very fond of. Lived in Lincoln. She split up with me. She did the Dear John. I was on tour. I was on operations. She did the old Dear John thing. I moved back to Lincoln after my deployment, and I couldn't handle Lincoln because every coffee shop, and I went, fuck this. Put a posting request into London. Yeah. London, fell in love with the place. Yeah. Haven't moved away since. Yeah. Left on the back of being basically in love with London. Yeah. Moved to London as a civvy. And then now I'm sat in a podcast room with you. And I think to myself, holy shit, if that thing didn't happen, that Dear John didn't happen, going back to the thing that you're like, you know, is that fate? Is that, I don't know what it is, but you hit this crossroad where you go, if that hadn't have happened, I'd be here. And if this hadn't happened, I'd be there. Absolutely. Mad. It's Sliding Doors, the film Sliding Doors, isn't it? And I'm showing my age there, I guess, at that point. But yeah, it's the what if. The what if. So I've not looked back in any way, shape or form. But I've learned a hell of a lot over the last, Spark will be 5 years old in February. Mental. What are the big lessons you've learned? Let me dive into that more, right? Yeah. Because this is, I'm still challenged with this to this very day, right? You've met some of my employees, right? Yeah. I'm an employer. I've been out of the military for 10 years. Yeah. And even to this very day, my military mentality is still like, just get the fucking job done. Yes. And that's something that I've had to really adapt to now that I'm an employer, in that people have lives outside of their salary.
Yeah.
Right. So, which is fine, you know,
Yeah.
so that's something that I'm still learning. I think I've learned a lot, but I'm still learning it slightly.
Yeah.
What are the things you're learning in terms of a founder, an entrepreneur, a business owner?
Yeah, I would definitely agree with what you just said there. It could be, again, not to repeat, that's a work ethic thing. But okay, here there's a lack of. Oh, that's too strong. People are not you.
Yeah.
People are not you.
Yeah.
And everyone's got their own persona, their own level of emotional intelligence, their own empathy, and all that kind of good stuff. And I do employ all of that in myself.
Yeah.
To a point. It gets to a point where you kind of go, right, I've been collaborative, that word that everyone loves to use. I've been empathetic. I've guided you. I've gave you a hint. I've even done some of that for you and changed the logo and send me it back, right? All that kind of stuff. But it gets to a point where you kind of go, can you now just do your fucking job?
Yeah.
And you know what? People will say, I think it's unfair.
Yeah.
I've got some people in the industry have got a little reputation for me of being a bit too harsh and a bit too blunt.
Yeah.
But those are the people that have forgot me trying to help them in the first place. They forgot that actually I've steered them. They forgot what they promised in their own tender interview. They forgot all that. And they focused on the little bit where I go,
do your job.
You're on $100,000 a year. You're a senior contracts manager. Can you go and do your fucking job?
Yeah.
They forget that.
Yeah.
But that's the bit that they remember. That's a learning.
But I think in the military, you can have that conversation and it's not a problem.
Yeah.
Because you then go and have a beer.
Yeah.
And you talk shit about the rugby or whatever.
Yeah.
And not that I can talk anything about rugby because I have no idea. But I think that's the kind of relationship that you have in the military. You can have a very honest, frank, sometimes direct.
Yeah.
Often direct.
Oh, yeah.
And that's okay. And then the moment that conversation is finished, you then go to the pub and you have a beer and your name's Vince and my name's Chris and it's not sergeant or staff or anything like that. No. It's just Vince and Chris and you have a beer and that's it.
Absolutely. But it emphasises importance of giving a damn about something, right? For it get to that level, it means everyone cares enough about the end goal and can be grown up about it, have a discussion and then fix it and then move on.
Me and Spencer had that conversation when we first started the company. Me and Spencer were mates. Yeah. You know, beers and complaining about the industry and complaining about our old employers and you know, and the reason SPORE exists is very similar, right? We saw a gap in the market. We decided to you know, point the ship in that gap and go for it. Yeah. Me and Spencer had the conversation when we first started the company. We said, look, mate, you're a mate of mine. Yeah. Let's agree at this table over a beer now that anytime we have a business conversation, it's in the interests of the business. We may disagree, we may have falling outs, it may be quite direct, but can we agree that conversation stops at the end of the conversation and that once we leave the room, we're mates again? Yeah. And that was a very honest, frank chat that we had when we first started the company. And to this very day, we've still got that agreement. Yeah. We know when it's a business discussion and when it's a spend on goal discussion. Yeah. We know that.
Now that's interesting. And I say that because I call that big boys rules, which I've now got to say these days, big boys and girls rules. Okay? Yeah. But when in a project management kind of situation, when we're about to appoint a new contractor for a job, I have that chat with the senior director or the contracts manager. Who are we going to be dealing with? You know, right, we're going to set this rule. Big boys rules. When we need a coffee or a beer or whatever it is, we go there, we talk about stuff, we sort it out, we go away and we get on with stuff. Yeah. Okay? And everyone goes, yeah. And then the majority of the time that's forgotten. Yeah. And then what happens? Those people who are senior people, experienced people, forget all of that and it loses its meaning. Yeah. And that's what a real frustration for me. Yeah. Because if you can't do that, well, and let's be honest, look, sadly we're in an industry where people don't want to have that confrontation. It's not even confrontation, it's just a robust chat. Yeah. But they don't want to do that. They want to, oh yeah, okay, that's making uncomfortable. I'll go back to the office and send you a shitty email. Yeah, I'm going to send you an email. What? I think that's the biggest learning I've taken since I've started the business as well, is that it's the difficult conversations that people respect. Yeah. When we've fucked up a few times, right? As everybody does. And when we fucked up,
you'll say to the account managers, own it.
Yeah.
Or whatever, you'll say to one of the team, own it. And it's nerve-wracking and all the rest of it, but you'll go and have the conversation with the client and you go, look, we fucked up here.
Yeah.
Here's what's happened. Here's what we're going to do about it. Here's what's going to be the end result.
Yeah.
Here's the lessons we've taken from it. Here's the new changes and processes that we're going to develop as a company. We fucked up.
Absolutely.
It's that conversation that the client goes, fair play.
Yeah.
It's not. It's not. It's the ones where you bury your head in the sand and you gaslight. They're the ones where the client goes, "Don't work with Vince. He's just fucked up and then gaslighted me."
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I think that's a big thing.
We make sure we don't make that a clip because that could sound really bad.
No, I'm not going to make that a
but
clip.
you're 100% right. You're 100% right.
Yeah.
But look, the fact is, we're in a very different world.
Yeah.
People's time is looked at differently. People's expectations from life differently. Everyone's spread just a little bit too thin these days.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we are. But it's fixable. I think it's all fixable.
Yeah, it is. Do you know how many questions? Right, I write all these notes down. Right, do the research. Do you know how many I've asked you? 0.
Right. Okay.
I mean, I'm sure I probably have because we just got into chatting. But honestly, mate, I spend a bit of time putting some research documents together. I haven't asked you any of it.
I find the same with my podcast. So Becky's watching, which I'm sure she will be. Becky does, for my guests, she does this beautiful research sheets.
Yeah.
But we're now looking at season 2.
Yeah.
So Becky, thank you, but don't spend time doing it.
Don't kill yourself.
No.
Look, Vince, we need to start rounding this up, and I can talk to you all day, as you know, because we've obviously got a lot of history that we can reminisce about. Funny, actually, when I first left, going back to the thing about leaving the military and how I struggled specifically. You're a rugby fan, right? I was never into it.
Yeah.
I got into the weights quite heavily, got relatively bulky, moved to Clapham.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find that military camaraderie.
Yeah.
And the closest thing I could find to it was a rugby club. I'd never played before in my life, mate.
Right.
Didn't have a fucking clue what I was doing. But I was like, I'm going to go along to this rugby club, play for their social team.
Yeah.
Just because that's the closest thing that I could find to kind of that military environment, if you like.
Camaraderie and
it's great fun.
Teamwork and all that.
Great fun. It wasn't the same, but it wasn't far off.
I don't think there's anything that's the same.
No.
Although saying that, I've thought about going back to the cadets as an instructor.
Oh, yeah.
If I find a bit of time, I've thought about that.
There's a little mentor in you, isn't there? Well, that sounded quite patronising, but there's definitely a mentor in you, isn't there?
So there is. I do mentorship.
Yeah.
I do mentorship for a couple of industry people who shall remain nameless because it is confidential. And I do a bit of coaching as well.
Nice.
Bit of chartership advice.
Yeah.
I'm quite specific in my chartership advice though. People, they get nervous about their APC, the RIC.
Yeah.
My style is much more cut through the nonsense of it, and I'll tell you how to pass it.
I love that.
Yeah, and there's so much mystique about it. There doesn't have to be. So I get people that...
All that stuff is common sense, right? Step above the academic writing and just use a little bit of brain power.
Yeah, but it's knowing how the process works. And there's top 10 tips that Vince gives that no one thinks about when they go into their APC and they go, oh, I never thought about that. Oh, I never thought about that. Oh, really? And I go, yes. They look at it from the wrong angle.
Well, if anyone wants any advice on that, then
there you go.
They know where to reach out.
Yeah.
Vince, look, we can talk for days, but unfortunately I can't because I've got work to do and stuff like that.
And I've got to get back to London.
Actually, going to get some water after this.
Yeah.
Let me finish with the underlying question of the podcast. The point of it is to try and bring experts together to talk about their expertise, where they fit in the puzzle, where they fit within this whole stakeholder requirement of an office move.
Yeah.
Given the fact that we are trying to speak to people who have office moves coming up, you may have already answered this question, but what's the number one piece of advice you'd give them if they have an office move in the next 2 years? What's the number one piece of advice you'd give somebody?
Have a coffee with me.
I love that.
Even if it doesn't go anywhere,
I
guarantee there'll be things that they go, never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
Or they'll have some kind of ideas, or they might have got some advice or whatever it is. And I guarantee after a 15-minute coffee, whether they take me forward or not, they will absolutely look at their project differently. I guarantee it.
Okay.
So
and if the number one piece of advice is to have a coffee with you, how can they contact you?
Various methods. So LinkedIn is obvious. So Vince Simpson. My mugshot is on there. They can get us through the website, spark.london. There's a contact sheet there. Or referrals. People are not easy to, people are easy to find these days. So yeah, there's various ways.
Brilliant. Vince.
They can even get us through our YouTube channel where we've got our own podcast.
There we go. Yeah, actually, we didn't plug that, did we? Look, Vince, brilliant. Some real nuggets of information and knowledge. Really and look, as always, mate, our conversations are great because I like how direct they are, how honest they are, how authentic they are, and I know that you operate in in your professional environment in the same way. So, if you don't want the bullshit, if you want someone to speak directly to you, and tell you the real answers, get in touch with Vince.
Appreciate it.
All right, mate.
Fantastic.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate that.
Good stuff.
Great. Hope you enjoyed the podcast, and I certainly enjoyed having that guest on. Now, in order for us to close this podcast out, what I want to do is just highlight to you that we're an AV company. That's pretty clear. But what we do with a lot of our clients is we offer them showroom visits, basically. So we quite often go around a lot of the showrooms that are available to us. We're doing a big LED showroom visit. So if you want to come and see some of the latest LED technology that you can deploy within your meeting room, we're doing a big LED showroom visit over the coming weeks. The date's not fully confirmed yet, but we have put together a wait list. The link to that wait list is in the description below. If you're interested in coming along and seeing the latest LED and what you can deploy within your office space and the art of the possible when it comes to LED, click the link below, join the wait list. When we've got the date confirmed for our showroom visit, we'll then invite you to that showroom. We'll show you what the art of the possible is. For now, hope you enjoyed the podcast. Like, subscribe, click the notification bell so that you see the next one as well.